Welcome to All About Adoption. My name is Christine Altways, and I'm the Executive Director at Hawaii International Child. Today we have two very special guests with us. I'm really excited to introduce you to these two women. Our series, All About Adoption, is an attempt to educate people about the various aspects of adoption. Most adoption stories include three parties or groups: the birth child, or the child who's going to be placed for adoption, the birth mother and maybe the birth father, and the prospective adoptive family who is wanting to raise a child. All too often in the media, the depiction of the birth mother is not very strong, or if there is a birth mother in the story, then often the birth mother is described in less than flattering terms. You hear about fraud in adoption, you hear about birth mothers changing their mind. The stories tend to focus on the importance of the child finding a home and the happiness of the family who's able to have this child through adoption. For that reason, it's very important for us today to meet these two courageous and intelligent women, our guests. Two women who have worked very hard, who have jobs, who have gone to school, who are raising children, and who made the decision to place a child for adoption after a very lengthy and careful consideration process. So welcome, Jessica and Kendra. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm hoping we can start off by helping our viewing audience just to get to know you a little bit, maybe hear a little bit about you. How would you describe yourself? What's important to you in life? What would you want someone to know about you, Kendra?
Well, I'm 25 years old and I have two boys. My oldest is 7 and my baby is 4. I placed my middle child up for adoption and she's now 5. So I graduated high school, born and raised in Hawaii. I like everything your normal 25-year-old likes who lives in Hawaii. I like the beach and going out with family and friends and barbecues. I like photography a lot. I take a lot of pictures. I do a little bit of scrapbooking. I just work now, but I plan on going back to school. Don't know what for yet, but when I figure it out, I'm sure I'll be really happy with that. But right
And
now,
you'll be good at whatever you decide to do, I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I'm sure too. But yeah, that's pretty much just me in a nutshell.
Great.
Not much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Jessica?
I'm 28, or gonna be 28 in a few days, and I have my oldest daughter, she's 8, and my second oldest is gonna be 3 this year. And I put my third child up for adoption. He'll be 2 this year. I go to school, I work, take care of my kids. Family is everything to me, so I'm always with my family. Doesn't matter what day, what time, I'm always with them. And my other half, he works a lot too, so we barely see each other, but when we do, we make it work and make it matter. But I like to do a lot of stuff, hang out with my friends, go to the beach, shopping, eating,
Great.
all the fun stuff.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. So we're here to talk about adoption, a topic that is very near and dear to each of you, having been through it personally. What people watching are probably going to want to know is, what's it like to place a child for adoption? How do you get to this place where this is the decision that you're facing and this is the decision that you make? Do you want to start, Jessica? Take us back to, I guess, when you found out you were pregnant?
When I found out, it was really hard. I wasn't in the perfect situation, but we kind of made it work. And a friend of mine told me about Hawaii International Child, and I was really nervous at first, especially when I talked to Lonnie actually, and she made me feel a little bit more better and a little bit more comfortable with going through with everything. And
So you called the agency, you find out you're pregnant, you think about your options, and at that point, the option to keep the child.
the option to keep the child was actually never an option,
Okay.
which was really hard because it was a big surprise. So I just felt like it would be better off that my child was taken care of by somebody else that is willing and able to take care of him.
Okay. So you called the agency, they explained the process to you. Okay. Is that how it was for you, Kendra, your sort of beginnings of your process?
When I found out I was pregnant, it was unexpected yet again. My first son was just 6 months old. So it was really, really hard for me to think that I'm pregnant again and I'll be expecting another child in 9 months. My son won't even be 1. So I considered all options. I considered abortion, I considered adoption, I considered keeping my child. And it actually took me, like I thought about it for a long time. And it took me up until maybe I was 6 months pregnant to actually look into adoption itself, because I obviously did choose abortion because that had long passed. So I wanted to, explore how I would make it through the pregnancy, and adoption was always in the back of my mind. But you see it on TV and you wonder what it's like, but you're not sure how to go about it. And I was by myself. So I was thinking about it the whole time by myself. I kind of shared my thoughts with other people and family and friends and didn't get much feedback. But when it was getting closer to my due date, I realized I wouldn't be able to take care of this child. I could, at the time, barely take care of myself and my 6-month-old son, who is almost 1 now. Coming up to my due date, I decided to look into adoption companies. And I made a few phone calls, and I never got a response back. In fact, I left messages at other adoption agencies. I'm not even sure what their names were, until I reached Hawaii International Child, and I called. And I left a message, and I got a reply back the next day. Just basic information, and I felt more comfortable. I felt like maybe I have a plan for my child, because I didn't have a plan for myself at the time. So the thought process was still there. Like, I was still considering, keeping my child, but I leaned more toward adoption when the company reached back out to me and set up a meeting and let me know how the process would be. And I was a lot more happy with that than keeping my child at home and with my son turning 1. So I thought about it. It was a long, hard process, but once I finally reached out, I felt better about it, because I had some goal. I had somewhere to go, and my child would probably be taken care of. And that made me keep going and continuing in with the agency.
And I guess that's something that's important for people to understand, is that, we see sort of the adoptive family as the ones who really have hopes and dreams, and they often don't have children and want a child more than anything. And you are seen as sort of the powerful parties in this triad of, adoption. But in fact, from what you're saying, it sounds like you had a lot of fear and anxiety and concern that you wouldn't be helped, or that there wouldn't be a family for your child or an agency to help facilitate that. And I think that's important for people to understand, is that there is a lot of anxiety for you looking into this, thinking about your lives, worrying about your children.
Yeah, that's true. And it's scary, because if you don't know that there's people out there that will help or are willing to help, then what are you gonna do? Because you feel really alone when you have no other choices. So just knowing that there is adoption out there and it's possible, and you just take that step to look into it, you might feel better.
Yeah.
Because it is another option. Because you can consider all the options in the world, but you'll find the right option that makes you feel better. And that was what happened with the adoption for me.
And interesting, I think, for each of you, you had already birthed and were raising a child. In your case, you had 1. You now have 2 that you're raising. Kendra and Jessica, you had 1. You had 2. You had 2 already, and now you have your 3rd who you placed. So you had experienced already the responsibility of being a parent. So you understood what was coming down the pike at you if you decided to raise this child. Okay, so you make the decision, you contact the agency. What happens next?
We set up an appointment, and I met with the adoption counselor, which was Lonnie, and I was really nervous, really overwhelmed with a lot of stuff, and she made me feel more comfortable, more at ease when we went through everything, the process of how to place my child with a family that wants to and is willing to take care of somebody else's kid. And I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. It hurt a lot because, you never want that, but it's better for them to be taken care of than not knowing what to do.
Yeah. We said we weren't going to cry today, but I'm already tearing up.
Sorry.
And I know, no, that's all right. This is heavy stuff, and I think that's important for people to realize that this is not a lightly made decision.
No, it's not.
And it's made from the heart with
Ooh.
the
Sorry.
best. And no, that's okay. Do we have our tissues? Feel free to pull them out. So the counselor put you at ease and helped you sort of think through the process and talk it
Yeah.
through. Okay. All
And
right.
it made it a lot easier for me and for my boyfriend because we were really scared. We had our son and he was about 5 months, and we didn't know how to tell my daughter. So, but our counselor gave us the strength to go through this.
Good. Yeah. So sometimes having that neutral third party who cares about you and who's there to sort of talk you through
Yeah.
and handle the details. Was that your experience, Kendra, that you had someone to sort of help you through once you made the decision?
Yeah, actually, when I reached out to the company, it was you who reached back to
That's
me,
right.
in fact. And we hit it off pretty well. I felt really comfortable talking to you. I explained, that I had a son already and that this isn't my first pregnancy and that I know what's coming down the road and I need some help maybe looking into adoption and finding a family. We met for our first meeting and it was really nice, getting background history on the company and adoption and the process itself. And that made me feel better already because I'm a know-it-all. I want to know it all. I mean, who doesn't want to know it all? You're
Yeah.
putting your child up with, up in the air for somebody else to take. And it is scary. It scared the life out of me. But at the same time, it wasn't any more scary than me going home to nothing with my other son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we talked about it. It moved pretty fast because I was kind of near the end of my pregnancy. But I was set up with a family immediately, and we clicked. Like it was just really, really nice.
I remember that first meeting, and I got
Yeah.
goosebumps right now, just
Yeah.
remembering as you all met, the feelings of
Mutual
sort of-
respect.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was.
Understanding and sympathy for one another. We talked a lot. We got to get to know each other, and not so, it wasn't just about a child being placed up for adoption. It was about getting to know each other and why and how we got to where we are today, and that was really nice. And I couldn't ask for a better family. And having you there to mediate was really nice too. Although I think after we met, we really didn't need much help, and that made me feel really comfortable, especially because I was getting near the end of my pregnancy. It was stressful. I was still stressed out, but it felt good to have a goal, and me and the adoptive family clicked immediately, and that was nice, and it felt really good.
So we as an agency and generally the industry of adoption right now advocates for openness in adoption. The studies show and experience shows that people tend to do better when things are open and transparent. That by wrapping up adoption in secrecy, you often create more problems or challenges or questions for, most importantly, the child. It's not always possible to have an open adoption. Sometimes there are mitigating circumstances that make it difficult. But certainly when a woman walks into our agency and says she wants an open adoption, then we're going to make that happen for her. So in your cases, there was never a question about openness. It sounds like you both knew that you wanted to meet the family, select the family, see pictures of and or see your child after the placement.
Yeah, I had from day one wanted, if I was to go along with adoption, my son to know his sibling, and it happened to be his sister. So I wanted that, and if it wasn't a connection with me and my child, then it would have been a connection with the child and her sibling. So, and that's what I wanted from, I wanted the adoptive parents to understand is, it's they're siblings. You don't get a lot of siblings. You don't get to pick and choose. You're stuck with the ones you got, and she has one. And she, it'd be really nice for her to know that. I'd like to know if I had siblings. I'm sure she'd want to know everything, and it was pretty simple, and it was really nice to be open about that and have somebody understand and want the same thing for their child.
Yeah.
You know, if they want their child, they're thinking about the child too, knowing that they have siblings and then being open about that was amazing.
Yeah, the same for me. It was like, even if I didn't have a relationship with my child, as long as my daughter and my son was able to have a relationship with their brother, that was my main thing. That was my main concern. And his parents was more than open. Like, they're just like, no, we want you guys to know who, you know, who he is, how he is, when, like, his first steps, the first word comes out of his mouth, everything. And that's what made it so much easier for me, and so like happy. And my kids are so close to them and to their brother, and like every time Mason sees a picture of Joseph, he's like, my brother, you know. And that's what I wanted, is just, even though I couldn't take care of him and like he couldn't be with me and his sister and his brother, at least they know that he's out there and he's happy and healthy. So yeah, like the parents we clicked real fast.
Great. That's good. It's so much better for everybody. Children generally grow up healthier and happier if they know that the adults in their lives are getting along. You know, the adult in your life is getting along, the adults, then you are more comfortable. Then you don't have to worry about that. And that transcends into adoption also. So kids growing up in adoption are wondering how this all happened and who are the adults who are involved and did they like each other and were they mad at each other. And you know, if you can demonstrate that open relationship, you're sending a very positive message to your child. Okay, that's good. And I remember the moment when you handed your child, I'm going to cry if I tell the story, and I'm one big goosebump right now just thinking about it. But I tell people that story because it was one of the most powerful moments that I've experienced, of you sitting in that bed, and the family, the new parents were there, and Mason was in the crib at the foot of the bed. There was complete chaos in this room. You had just gone through a difficult labor. Your head was probably in a million other places, but you sat there like a queen, like the queen that you are, and you handed your son over to this family, and you made a speech about the gift of life and the gift of family and the gift of love that I still remember as so noble and so respectful of all the people in that room.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could have just been a sobbing mess, but you pulled yourself together, not unlike this fabulous woman on your left who also was powerful in the moment 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years now.
Do you remember that moment of handing your child over?
I do actually, because she came early. She came at 37 weeks. She came full term.
December 23rd.
December 23rd, you know, and she came before her due date, but she was still healthy and ready to come out. So I had to call somebody. You know, I got cold feet, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I had already decided, you know, this is gonna be the family. We're gonna prepare, and you know, you can't prepare for it no matter how much you try. Like we couldn't prepare, and she came out. I got to the hospital and I called the family because I could not reach my partner here.
Christmas shopping.
Yeah, because I didn't have your phone number.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, my phone didn't want to pull you up, so I called the next person that I knew could come, and it was the adoptive parents. And it was late. It was late, and they answered, and they were, I'm going to be right there. And by the time they got there, she was already out. They were cleaning her up. I got to hold her, and they came right into the room and got to pick her up. And it was nice. It was nice to know that, hey, she has someplace to go. She's going to be taken care of. And I feel like I made the right decision. Like I'm right now, I'm at my weakest, and I feel like I'm at the strongest, and I feel like I just brought something and did something great, and they're gonna enjoy it because they've worked hard. They're asking for a blessing, and the look in their eyes, and the smiles on their faces, and it was so late at night and so unexpected. Like nobody was prepared for it. It was nice. It was nice. It hurt, but at least I know she was safe. You know, and she was gonna be loved by all these people who were strangers not too long ago, and all of a sudden became family, and overnight.
Yeah.
right before Christmas Eve. So it was a nice Christmas Eve gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah. And what a wonderful thing that you each felt the conviction and continue to feel good about it, because life isn't always like that. There are times when we face difficult decisions and we're on the fence, and afterwards we may question our decision. And of course, that's not to say you haven't had moments of pain. That's not to say this has been a cakewalk for you, right? Obviously, it still pulls up feelings 5 years later.
Yeah, it does. But it still feels good because she's still here. You know, she's still here. She's probably smiling right now and playing around with the rest of the kids, you know. And I still see her. She knows her siblings. You know, the moments that led up to her adoption, it's still very hard because you don't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And you might think, what if, or how could I have changed? But you still at night go to sleep knowing that they're well and they're taken care of, and we're all in the place where we should be, you know, and doing better for ourselves. So it's at the end of the day, I still stand by my decision, and I'm still very happy with the decision I made. You know, and tears of joy, tears of pain, tears of laughter, tears of what's to come in the future with her and her siblings.
And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, as you both have mentioned, that, you know, there is nothing that we can do about who our family is.
Yeah.
You know, family is family, and your children have siblings. Whether people want to acknowledge that these siblings exist or not, whether it's uncomfortable or awkward, whether it makes things difficult, whether it's too much to try and understand or explain, you cannot wish these children away. They will always be there. And so to honor these sibling relationships, I think, is wonderful. And how wonderful that your families that you've placed with are open to that also. And continue to hold up their end of the bargain by maintaining the relationships.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we unfortunately are already starting to get near the end of this episode, which is amazing because it went by so quickly. I feel like there's a lot more to talk about. I feel like we just scratched the surface. Let's address the prospective adoptive parents out there who might be considering adoption, who might be afraid of open adoption, who might be, you know, thinking about this. What would you say to them as women who have gone through this and who have ended up with wonderful adoptive families, it sounds like?
Don't doubt it. Like, if you really feel like it's a good decision, go for it. Because you don't want one day to just wake up and just be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because we've been stuck in that situation, and thankfully we made the right decision to go forward with putting our child with a family that's willing to take care of them. It's scary, yes it is, but at the same time it'll give you more of an ease knowing that you're not stuck.
All right. Those are powerful words to any woman who's considering placing a child for adoption. Okay. What about to the families who might be thinking of working with a birth mom? Any thoughts for them?
I think that if there are parents or people in general, or couples willing to adopt kids, I think that they shouldn't be afraid of it. I mean, it's gonna be scary. It's a scary process. Any big change in your life is scary, but there's more than one person in the party. I think that without them, where would this child go? Like, they could adopt an animal, or they could adopt, you know, a number of things, but they want to adopt a child. They want to take a responsibility that, you know, some people can't. Yeah, they want to take on another life, and I think that's very welcoming to anybody who can't take care of somebody. Like, where would our kids be if there weren't people to take care of them? I mean, in the sense where, you know, there's kids everywhere that need parents. And what if the parents weren't there? And you have these families who are willing to take on a child. I mean, it gives other people options.
Right.
You know, to build bigger families and to get in touch with, you know, other people who want to be parents, who for whatever reason can't be parents, you know. And I already have kids, you know, and to give the blessing of a child to somebody else, I mean, that feels really good too.
So you're really expressing your gratitude towards the families who step up and are willing to participate in this process.
Oh, yes.
What would we say to the prospective adoptive parents as birth mothers? Sort of, how do you want to be treated, and how would you want them to work with the birth mothers, and what sorts of things do you think are important for them to keep in mind when addressing and meeting the birth mothers?
Be open-minded. You know, you guys it might be hard on them, but at the same time with the birth mothers, it's even harder because we're making the decision to place our child up. It's a 50-50 if it's like, if they want to see the kid or if they don't want to, if they want to have a relationship and let their siblings see their brother or sister. So yeah, just be open-minded.
Be open-minded, okay. Last thoughts,
I
Kendra?
think being open-minded is a great thing, because anybody who wants to give or receive or take a life should be open-minded. You shouldn't be judgmental. You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You should go in there with open arms, and you're embracing a new child. You're embracing the mother too. The mother is part of that child, and is still carrying. You know, it could have went another way. There's so many more options before adoption, even before the 9 months hit. That you know, you have to be grateful for it, for the opportunity, and to get to know each other and get to know how that child's gonna be raised. If everybody pitches in and cares about a child, I don't see how that can be wrong. To care, like, have so many people caring about one individual.
There's no
or
such thing as
multiples.
too much love.
There's
Yes.
not too much.
Right.
There's not going to be too much. So
Okay.
I mean, going into that child can't, you know, possibly be upset growing up with all this, you know,
Love.
attention.
It's a win-win.
It is.
More
It
love,
is.
the better. Okay.
It is.
Well, unfortunately, we're about out of time, but as I said at the beginning, I am eternally grateful to the two of you for the courage that you've had from the beginning of this process through now, where you continue to give to those who need to hear from you. So thank you very much. This has been All About Adoption. My name is Christine Altwies, and our thanks today to Jessica and Kendra, our birth mothers, and Olelo Productions, and our producer, Chris Castignero. Thank you.